Hi, my name is Elena Oncevska Ager, and I'm a teacher educator based in North Macedonia. I support pre-service teachers in the on their learning trajectories. Today I'll be talking about how I drew on critical pedagogy in order to improve my students' engagement. To set my experiments in a meaningful context, I'm going to say a word or two about the module that gave rise to the tasks. It's called Learning Strategies. It's a small elective module for pre-service teachers. It focuses on a few models, such as the strategic self-regulation model by Rebecca Oxford, according to whom learning is essentially cognitive, social, and affective in nature, and tasks/interactions in the classroom need to reflect this. Learner autonomy is another notion that we consider on the course, understood as the willingness and ability to take charge of one's own learning by being involved in decisions with regard to module aims, content, methodologies, and assessment. And there is a special focus on critical pedagogy. In essence, Paulo Freire's work, according to which the student teachers are seen as critical co-investigators in dialogue with the teacher, therefore assuming joint responsibility for a process of transformation. Hopefully by the end of the module, both them and myself as a teacher educator will come out new people, transformed people, having learned stuff of each other and had experiences that help us develop as professionals. The puzzle. On these modules, the students were already offered choice with regard to what they do to provide ongoing evidence of learning, how they go about tasks, who they collaborate with, how, etc. Criticality is encouraged. Yet I felt that the engagement levels could be improved. I felt that they could do more. By engagement, what I mean by engagement is displaying motivated behavior, in essence, displaying self-determination, which is theorized by Aran and Desi as relying on three pillars: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. According to them, motivated individuals need to have opportunities to experience success, that is competence. They need to be given enough autonomy, that is freedom in how they do tasks, and they also need to experience connections with people and develop relatedness. This is the question. So if learning is cognitive, affective, and social in nature, what tasks could I design to help students succeed in more personalized ways, granted sufficient freedom, while drawing on each other and on the group for support? I'll look at two tasks, how I redesigned two tasks. The crossed out instructions are the instructions that I had previously before I decided to tweak the tasks a little bit to improve engagement. So when discussing Paulo Freire's work, the students were asked to read chapter 2, originally asked to read chapter 2 and bring along their thoughts for a group discussion. We're discussing Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Instead of that, I asked them to read chapter 2 of his work and write an imaginary letter to him, outlining how his writing resonates with the current local and or international educational realities that they're familiar with. I suggested a start of the letter and encouraged them to share their letters on the online platform, responding to some of their peers' letters. We then discussed the main threads from the discussion in class. The discussion that ensued was a lot richer than previously. Previously, we had a few individuals leading on the discussion. Most of the class were passively observing what was going on. In this way, everyone very personally responded to the task first before engaging between themselves, before we opened discussion for the group. This is a sample student response, the beginning of that is, so I'll let you quickly browse through it to get an idea about the kind of writing they produced. Their responses were a lot longer and more inspired than usual. All of them, many of them mentioned that they lost track of time while writing the responses. They truly enjoyed this task. The second task was an end of module project task, really. In the first paragraph are the instructions that I typically share with them. I invite them to get hold of an artifact of learning or for learning and analyze it in light of the theories that are discussed on the course. This time I suggested an alternative. I asked them to think of other ways in which they can provide evidence of mastery of the module content. They don't necessarily have to analyze learning artifacts. I just let them see what they were going to come up with and share their suggestions. One group was particularly creative, and this is what they came up with. They decided to do a role play panel of 3 of the experts that were featured on the module: Paula Freire, Rebecca Oxford, and Sugata Mitra. So they pretended to be them, and in this imaginary panel, they discussed and challenged each other's work with the support of a very visibly engaged peer audience. They asked questions, made comments, responded non-verbally, sometimes with laughter, etc. To their peers' work. This was a really, this was an experience that is not only memorable to me as a teacher educator, but I'm sure to them as well, because they were really into it. They really became these 3 experts, and the audience really appreciated that. I found Ryan and Desi's self-determination framework to be a very useful checklist, really, for student engagement at the planning stage. For instance, checking whether the students had enough opportunities to achieve success, competence. Were they given interesting enough tasks? Were they challenging enough? Were they relevant enough? Were they given enough freedom within the existing framework? Did they have opportunities to connect? I think that I found this framework really useful at the planning stage of any task. Some of my students provided some informal feedback. Their work suggested good quality engagement, but also I noticed that some reported feeling overwhelmed by all the possible avenues that they can take on the module, and the challenge levels of the tasks. One student even shared a meme suggesting, what if I told you that you're not our only teacher? They felt that at points they were a bit overwhelmed by all the possible options from which they could choose. I'm going to leave it there with some prompts for reflection. Very happy to hear whether this resonates with you, or whether you have any ideas about how learner autonomy and engagement in general could be further developed in a university context, and not only. This is my email. Thank you so much for listening.